Getting a slow start this morning, but I do have a fire started. And I'm trying to get to the point where you can actually see that and bring you in close to the fire. There we go. Nice and close into the fire. So you can gather around the light and the warmth. On this gray morning in Kent, Washington. Now let's see if I can get the, you can hear all the birds singing. We got false spring here. The trees are kind of confused. You got buds popping up on all sorts of things. Over in the direction I've got you pointed, we've got black locust, I believe is the name of the tree. And birds are loving to hanging out in those trees, making all sorts of racket. Get some pretty songbird there though. Let's see if we can figure out why the GoPro doesn't want to come on today. Just does not want to talk to the cam link. And the GoPro is the one that gives me the nice view of the anvil, so I really want to get that working for you guys. Technology. It does amazing things for us, but man, is it a bear when it's problematic. All right, that's more like it. Had to pull the battery, forcing it to do a full shutdown rather than a power cycle. Now let's see if I can figure out how to there we go. And now we're just about there. I don't know how I didn't notice before that the image was overflowing the bounding box that I put it in. No biggie, but surprising. Let's just switch scenes and see if it puts it where I want it. That's more like where I'd like to see it. Let's go ahead and pull it up a little bit. There we go. It looks like we are now ready. Let me bring you into the smithy. There we go. Now to see if my head gets cut off, which it probably will, but that's no big deal. Hello. Welcome in. Let's go ahead and stoke the fire a little bit. I've already been warming up the steel, getting it ready to start working it. I'm working with charcoal this morning because I'd actually like to get something done today. And I didn't take the time to prep wood. I got plenty of charcoal though, so. Still working on making the tech fade into the background rather than being the star of the show. Get hammer ready. Well, I am wearing fireproof garb today because my wife bought me some new Carhartts for the purpose. I should slip on the garb of the roll, the good old Smith's apron. Get into drag so that I look the part. Yep. See, we're getting a good color there. Actually, I can start forging that. Let me bring you to the good enough. It's a longish taper for a leaf, but that just means it's going to be a longish leaf. And you can see just already how much faster this has been able to get me to work because I started with charcoal instead of starting with wood. Yeah, I noticed that from this angle, the forge looks like a heart. That whole love and light thing is even better with this view. You get to come to the warmth of the light of the forge. There's some warmth of human kindness. Put some of these bigger pieces on top so they can start cooking. Insulate things. Plenty hot enough to be able to do the next stage in this process. Get back in there. Which is to bring it back to the back here. Set it down on two sides. Then come to the front, blend those in. Bet people don't tell you that, I mean, people watch Forged in Fire. About every time I mention that I'm a blacksmith, somebody asks me about Forged in Fire. And what you don't get across in Forged in Fire, because it's a competition, is that blacksmithing is actually quite the peaceful endeavor. It's contemplative, meditative in some ways, too. That's coming out quite right. Very nice. Cool, cool. I'm just doing a little bit of cleanup of the base of the leaf so that it actually spreads the way I want it to when I get in there. Grab my coal rake. The camera being where it is just slightly in my way, but I really want to bring you guys in. Share the peaceful nature of sitting by the fire. Everybody knows what that's like. Some of the best times are had sitting by a fire. Sharing a drink, toasting a marshmallow. having conversation, or just sitting quietly looking at the flames. Becoming mesmerized, hypnotized. Hi, Bruce. My little shop dog just likes to run around the property and see what's going on, even on a cold day. As a dog with like patches of fur, rather patches of hair, not even fur. It's always funny to see him out here. He always wants to come out no matter how cold it is. Then he always wants to get back in because it's too cold. Good, good. Getting some good color on the metal. I'm just going to brush it off so you can see it a little better. That stuff would all just fly off as soon as I started working it, but you can see how quickly it cools down. It's just above freezing out here today, so no ice in my buckets. But yeah, the surface of my anvil is cool. You can see that I'm all I have to do is leave the wax untouched, and it re-solidifies pretty quick there. from when I finished the last piece. And you can see how quick it went from functional orange, cherry, to red to black. I don't get a lot of time to work it, but as you also are seeing, the stock is not so big as I can't easily get it warmed back up again. Yep. How much did that mess up my... And we can fix that real fast. Just like that. There you go. Go. Getting the leaf a little too hot. Getting too thin there. Gotta be careful. Have to start rounding that up. Knock it back over where I want it. There we go. The metal does have a will of its own sometimes. You can't see down to the microscopic level what's going on in there and the stresses you're causing and microfractures. Let's get this a little deeper into the fire so I can work the area I want and not get the wrong areas warmed up. There we go. Okay. There we go. Charcoal shifted on me. Probably means I need more in there. Start cooking the next layer. I got plenty. not to touch the metal, because first rule of blacksmithing is all metal is hot. Air is not the best conductor of heat. The metal does a pretty good job. And holds on to it for a long time, depending on which metal. Aluminum, not so much. Steel, quite a long time. All right. Should get a bunch of angry pixies here in a second, as it quickly wants to burn off the charcoal dust. But fortunately, where you're sitting, you're protected. Yeah. Let's put that over there so I don't make that happen over and over and over again. There we go. The camera I'm not worried about. It cost me something like $50. Surprisingly inexpensive. And it is serving the very purpose it was bought for. Metal should be plenty hot enough to work now. Yep, and you can see I didn't get the leaf part too hot. Okay, cool, or hot. All right. Come along here, start rounding it off, knock off the corners first. In the black, it's easy to see where the corners are, we just go at it that way. And these corners. Nice thing about working in the black is you can see the highlights easier. In black, you're not forging as in trying to spread metal in specific direction. And as such, you end up just changing the texture. And that's all I'm trying to do, is change the texture. The more heat you have, the more metal you can move. The less heat you have, the less metal, the harder you have to hit to get that metal to move. The more likely you're going to have fractures. But I'm not trying to move metal a lot. I'm just trying to take off the very piece of the metal all the way around. That when it's done, it appears more round. And if you think of a gemstone that is faceted, you see highlights and it shine. And the more facets you have, the smoother it starts to look around. And that's all we're doing here. And after you do that enough, you don't have facets anymore. You just have a smooth stone. And that looks good enough. Okay. Let's go ahead and turn that into a leaf, and then we'll work on this end, turning into a little curly cube via twist off. See if I can pull that off this time. So now I do want to warm up the bulb at the end and turn it into a leaf. Pretty close. There we go. I'll let it soak just a minute so it has some heat in the middle. Spreads better that way. Come up on the diamond, give it a smack, give it a smack. See if we can find the right angle here to come along. And I think I have to get it hotter again to be able to nice center vein this time. Hopefully I can maintain that. Warm it up. See if we can get some veins coming out from the center. Make it look like the leaf that it needs to be. There we go. Come on. There we go. Bit of life to the shape of it. And now my center line is not there anymore. Darn it. I'll figure this out someday. In the meantime, it's time to twist off this back end. And to do that, let's get the right spot warm. Try not to snap it off right now. That is the goal in the long run, but not immediately. Don't need the fire to go all the way to the back yet. We'll move to that in a minute. Assuming I can get this done in a few minutes. Okay. So now we go over here. Grab a pair of tongs, grab this, start rolling it as not hot enough. Let's put it back in. Get that spot itself nice and hot. Go. Tongs. See if we can get this to twist around the way I want it to. It's working, but there we go. See, it's coming off right. There. And it's already got a taper started. That is that Mr. Alex Steele has shown us before. I actually got it to work this time. Throw that piece of steel back on the rack. Now to see if I can actually get this to scroll nicely and become a keychain. It's got a pretty looking tendril now. Get it off of this. Switch tongs, I think. We'll see. But isn't that pretty already? A little twist off right there. Bring her around. Okay. Get it warmed up. Make it happen. Try not to lose my piece in the fire. Keep the leaf out of the fire so it doesn't burn. The fire you're seeing isn't the part that, of course, is doing the heat for me. But underneath, where the air is pushing through, is heating up all those coals surrounding the metal. That's doing the work for me. Shouldn't take much. Yeah, good, good, good. And now we just use the horn to help shape it into something that'll fit nicely on a keychain loop. And that has about got it. There we go. I'm going to bring it over a bit because I like the idea of it curling over. I like that. That's pretty. Show the camera. I think that came out great. And I didn't waste a lot of time doing it today. Still taking longer than I want to. 45 minutes is a long time. But I did have some startup headaches to deal with and so forth. Let's go ahead and break out my secret weapon, because that's great for dealing with big stuff, or straight stuff. But once you get into the ornate, twisty stuff, I find it really hard to get in. I could get a different kind of brush to deal with this, or I can just use this. You can see the scale just pop off. And then we'll go ahead and put a patina on there that's more appropriate to our goals. Hold it by a leaf and get the stem. Yeah, little guy, I hear ya. That's one of my new bantam roosters. New being, he was born in autumn, and he's now gotten into his crow. And the little ones don't know that they don't have to try and keep up with the big ones. All right, go ahead and set this on top. So I'm going to take some temperature, some heat off of that. I'm going to have a sip of wet my whistle here. Since I've been gabbing all this time, I need to clean up. I got 3 different drinks sitting here. That should be warm enough. Grab this here. You don't even have to pump any air in at the temperature those coals are likely at this point. Yep. Come on back over here, because I always love dripping beeswax on my anvil. It's not bad for it. Means there's one spot that won't rust as fast. It's not smoking, so that means it needs to be heated a little more. The pores aren't opened up enough to let the pores, if you will. It's hard to really make it make sense, because I don't think metal has pores per se, but it's not a porous material, but things move. And when they move, opportunity to make space exists. I think that's true for the human condition too. If you don't ever actually travel, first thing I'd recommend is travel. Because without that, you only get exposed to what you've gotten exposed to, and everything else seems foreign and strange and, I don't know, wrong maybe even. When what you discover is they think the same about you until they're exposed to you. Then we all realize we're just humans on this mud ball in space, trying to eke out an existence the best way we can. Some of the best things in life is learning how other people do it, because sometimes that means growth for you. And sometimes it means you go back thinking, I'm thankful I don't have to do it that way. Let's go ahead and grab my little rag that I wiped the excess off with. Try not to touch the metal with actual skin. This is just like treating your cast iron skillet. Except you probably don't use beeswax when you do yours. If I can make a recommendation, I would recommend linseed oil, or what's better known as flaxseed oil. Not boiled though, it has to be raw. Cold pressed. If it's boiled, then they've added stuff that makes it dry faster. And that's not a bad thing unless you're wanting to eat off the thing. You don't need those things in your diet. But for the simple stuff, beeswax does the job. And there we have it. I think that's a pretty one. Maybe somebody else will too sometime. Alright, now to do something completely different. Leave that there for a little bit. And I'll bring you into the smithy, because it's going to be a few minutes before we get back to doing something on the anvil. I might have to draw you away from the fire to be able to pull this off. We'll see. But first, let's make the fire longer. So I can work more metal at a time. We'll go up to, let's go up to half the length of the forge. We'll spread the coals across that space. And we'll stack some more coals on that space. And now you understand why I love the dial-a-tweer, because now I can control how much coal I'm using when I do a little thing versus a big thing. Big piece of coal that'll break down over time. Some might be watching wondering how I can get my hands way back in here in this. And it's just like in your oven. If I were to put my hands on the coals, I'd be burnt. Just like if you were to put, or on the metal especially, I'd be burnt. As long as I don't touch the metal, and I don't go picking up hot coals, I'm fine. All right. You can see the smoke starting because it's trying to catch the new coals. we're going to help that along here by making everything just a little hotter by throwing air down below, since we're kind of smothering it from above. I like having this camera here because now I don't have to actually keep looking down, staring into the fire. I can actually look up and see how the fire is going. Because I also moved the computer over near the other camera. So now I can actually face you all. Or as they would say where I lived previous to here, y'all. Look at that fire going good. There we go. All right. That means it's time to put something bigger in there. Take this off because I don't think I'm going to need it. And see about... Let's see about smoothing out some of this. I think that's what I'll do for now. I'll smooth out some of this. Get it buried down in there a bit. Get it good and buried in there. I'll pull some of this back. Okay. Go. Start warming it up. It's going to take a little longer. This is heavier metal on purpose so that it can actually hold something of decent size, a nice big planter or something. Let's see how we can do. Put these tongs away so they're not in my way when I move. I need to go deeper. Stack some more charcoal on top of that. I think I'm gonna have to throw some heat higher on the end of the fire. There we go. There we go. Watching the fire feed makes me thinking I'm a character in a Miyazaki movie. So long as none of those fire sprites decide to jump off and do anything funny, I'll be fine. seeing that I don't like my camera angle here. A little bit more that way would probably be nicer. But then I think when I switch over here, yeah, that's why I did it. There we go. If ever I need to move to the heel, I can. Another option is just to bring this over here a bit. Yeah, that'll work. Do you think I will? There we go. Now I understand why I had it the way I had it. But I do think I like that view a little better. And that won't live there much longer. I have to make room to bring over the big piece. But the big piece is warming up. And now I've decided I don't like that there. And since I'm not using the table over there anymore, I think it needs to be relocated to where the table used to go. Exciting footage, isn't it, folks? Me just trying to figure out how to use a small 12 by 12 space. I've said it before, I'll keep saying it. If you're not smithing and you want to smith, examine your limitations. You might be placing them on yourself instead of them being placed on you. It's almost always possible to find a way. It doesn't take a lot of space, a lot of skill, a lot of tools. You can build up all of that over time. What it takes is time to build the skill. Put in the time, you will probably enjoy this craft quite a bit. I sure do. Go ahead and burn up some of this material just laying about. All right. Trying something new today. Hopefully it's not impacting the stream. I'm also recording each of the cameras separately in the hopes that I can, because I figured out how to do that this week, in the hopes that I can start editing down my weekend activity, my 2 hours on the weekend, to something more consumable in, I don't know, 10 to 20 minutes. Maybe even less. And share that with you all for those who can't sit through a stream. And now you can see it's nice long fire instead of the short one that I had before. Take a look at the metal, see if we're getting any color in it yet. Oh yeah, look at that. It's time to actually hit the metal. Start smoothing it out. It's not time to move it so much as smooth it out. All right. would be easier if I actually had my, now this is a heavier metal, so it won't cool off quite as fast. All I'm doing is trying to smooth it a bit. Very repetitive, light strokes, just take all those facets off that we've seen. But am I accomplishing much here? Is the question I have to ask myself. Or would I do better just to get a sander out and sand the surfaces smooth at this point? Gotta be careful as to where the hot spots are, because as we say, all metal is hot. All I'm doing now is straightening so I can actually have less of trouble moving it in and out of my forge. But I think this is time for another courtesy bend. So put it back in the fire and give it a bend right here, and probably straighten out the other bend I put in. And why right there? Because I need to be able to work in this area, and it's getting in my way the length of my smithy behind the forge. So I think right there is where I need to go. And then I'll have to cool it off so I can actually turn around and hold it. All right. Right about there. Okay. Pull back some of this charcoal that I pushed all the way to the back. Getting that in there. Pile some of the charcoal over the top where I actually need it to get hot. Deny the ability for that piece of charcoal to escape and cause me trouble by running around my property, setting fires. Because we know that's how how fire spirits are. All right, here we go. Warm it up. I think I will switch to my heavy hammer just to move the metal around the bend the metal faster. Good, good, good. Got it hot where I needed it. Let's see if we can avoid setting the forge on fire or any of the equipment, and bend this in a direction that's useful to me. Just use the ground and push. Don't burn the boots. There we go. Another courtesy bend. Done. Cool that off so that I can actually hold it by that. Actually, let me think about that. I think right now I'm not going to need to hold it by that. That's the end, it'll still go in. I'll just continue working up the length here. No. Yeah, that's what I'll do. As long as it also cooperates with me. Sorry folks, I'll have to have you step back from the fire just a little bit. So that I can actually make room for the work that I have to do here. That doesn't work. Let's go underneath. There we go. Get the ribs in there. Down into the coals. Might be time to grab the gloves so that I accidentally slide my hand up to the wrong spot. I don't have a quick reminder about the first rule of blacksmithing. However, I do also need to move you guys to a different spot. Because the fire cam is wonderful until it gets in the way of things such that it could actually catch things on fire. So let's go ahead and pull things back. Won't need this for a minute. Go ahead and put this here. Bring you all in from the long shot instead of the close shot. Hope you don't mind. That means I can come over this way. Like that. There we go. I've yet to figure out what the angles are on this camera because it doesn't have a viewfinder, of course. Hi, Bruce. Did you find yourself a good place to sit? Huh, buddy? Huh, buddy? All right. How much more time do I get to spend with you lovely people today? I've got a good 45 minutes. I can make some progress here. Good. I just realized that I dropped my keyring. Let's pick that up before it is forgotten, as that is my nature. like that. It's very pretty. Put that in the pocket. And now it won't be forgotten. Unfortunately, I am an out of sight, out of mind kind of guy. Switch hammers. I like the ergonomics of this other hammer better when I'm doing heavy. Good old Fisker. Fire looks good. See how nice and glowy it is. Oh yeah, we can make some metal move with that. Now to pull it all back in so I can bring it over. There we go. Bruce doesn't like the sound. He was willing to stay in here for the heat, but decided the sound is not for him. All right. Fun to see the rest of the metal decide to have a mind of its own as I'm throwing force upstream from it. Of course, the problem with that is I still got to get it back into the forge. Flip it over, it'll work better. There we go. Let's see what spot we get to warm up this time and work. I have to admit, that's a pretty bed of coals. Who wants to walk on them? I'd suggest that it's a bad idea. let's see if I can make this easier for me. To go back and forth with. That. And now I can bring you in closer. And then be able to move you back. There it is. Draw in on the fire. Silly, sure, but sometimes you just need silly in life. Breaks up the monotony. Or, for some, the tears. There's a lovely fire. And I will tell all you fine people that I will be on hiatus over the weekend of the 25th. We got some big things happening here on our property. We got new people joining us. New family members joining the household from far off Florida. Kept telling my wife to stop rescuing greyhounds from down there, but you can't really convince a person with a good heart to stop doing good things. Looking good. Looking less and less like rebar every time I do this. that spot done. All right, I'm going to reheat that area there, which means I'll need my handy dandy little stand here in a second. And yep, that spot gets warm. Felt that through the glove. And that's why I don't recommend people use gloves when they blacksmith. I had any of my friends are welcome to come hang out in the Smithy and try their hand. And I had one such do that recently. She really probably could use the time out here again. And she wore the gloves, and she kept catching her jacket on fire, which means to me next time she gets to have the apron. Not on fire, but it would start to melt. Close enough for trouble. So, gloves are useful, but I do not recommend them as a full-time solution. Very easy to make some mistakes while you're wearing gloves because you're not as cautious. I think next week I'm going to take this bar, which unfortunately this is the longest I can get of this bar from standard places without ordering from a steel supply place, which I may end up having to start doing, but for the time being this is what I've got, and that's why it's not what I'm making the shepherd's hook with. This long piece of rebar. But I think I'm going to take this bar next week. Rather than working the rebar after I get done making my leaf, I'm going to make I'm going to practice making a fishtail scroll on this bar. You've seen me leave the fishtail scroll alone for a couple of reasons, and that is there's a chance that I could actually bend it or something like that in the process of doing what I'm doing here. The other is I've just never made one. So if I've started the process there and it's going the right way, but then the next part is the actual scrolling part, and I think I want to have a little practice rather than having to keep cutting off and doing it again on this big thing. So it'd be too good to do that with that piece, which is about the same size material that this rebar is. It might be just a hair bit bigger. Just double checking my exhaust pipe up at the top, because I don't have a double chambered chimney pipe going up there. I mean double, not chamber, what do they call it? Double layer. That's not what they call it either. But anyway, because I don't, you know, and it's sitting on wood, I need to make sure that it never gets too hot. And it turns out that it's at 80 degrees right now. So not too hot. All right. Warmed up that area, so I should be able to move it to where I need it to go. Like this. There we go. That's all I needed. It was getting to be in my way in the back of the forge. That doesn't do me any good. So that's taken care of. And now it shouldn't get in my way where I need it to be in the back. Yep, good stuff. All right. I need it right there. Let's see if I can pull some of these coals where I need it instead of where it is. Okay. I don't want to put any more charcoal in because we're getting to the end of the session. And there seems to be plenty in here if I just utilize it well. So. Okay. 25 minutes left in the session. Good. I'm going to take you around just so you can see what I'm having to work with here. Pay attention to the fire cam. You can see the work piece being on the back side of the anvil, back side of the forge, sticking out, and just that close to the edge of the smithy. So I'd say I got maybe 6 inches clearance there, which will mean it'll be time to turn the piece around. Let's see, did I get the mark right? There it is. I'm actually getting to the point where I'm setting marks on the floor. Dirt floor, setting marks is hard to do. Marking, for those who haven't ever worked on the stage or paid attention to stagecraft, is where you put little pieces of tape on the stage to help know where you can be on the stage or where you need to be at any given point, or where a piece of equipment or not equipment. Well, yeah, sometimes it's equipment, sometimes it's set pieces where they need to be. In my case, it's for knowing where the cameras are best set up. So I'll be remarking again to note where I like the cameras when I set up my Smithy. I'm just going to adjust some things here because it'll be easier for me to make that mark that I'm talking about. There it is. Okay. So now I know where I'm putting those marks. This gets to be like a crash course, not only in blacksmithing, but in a little bit of what it takes to figure out how to do YouTube stuff. Maybe not what you came here for, but it's what I'm here for. One of the things I find is if I'm able to use the structure to help find my marks, it's better, because dirt floors, like I said, don't hold marks very well. So I'm actually using the enclosure and marking with crayon, with the metallic crayon that we use in metal work. Where things go. Because crayon on wood works almost as well as crayon on metal. Now, as far as what I do with open floor space and how I figure it out, what I've done thus far is stuck in nails into the floor. But unfortunately, nails, yeah, they rust, and then you stop being able to see where in the world they were in the mud. So if anybody has ideas of how to mark dirt floor effectively, leave it in the comments. There we go. That's the color I need to see those coals. Just for fun, what does it say the temp is in those coals? Now, mind you, it's hard for me to shoot down into the hottest spot of the coals, but I'm trying. It says the hottest is about 1960 degrees. Let's pull some of those coals again back towards the middle. Keep the metal covered so that it gets the benefit of the hot coals. Not the cold air. Now the hood, the forge hood is 428 degrees. The pipe just above it is 1763 degrees. You can see the difference. Why I can put my hand in there, it's like putting my hand into a 460 degree oven. But flue gases get a lot of heat. Oh, I take that back, 169 degrees. I was reading it wrong. 222 degrees. Now let's see if I get things pumping. $200 degrees. So good. That's what I expected, that it would cool off the further away it gets. Up there, 176. Up there, 150. At the elbow, 160. And the long pipe going from the elbow, 140. And at the part on the outside, 116. So it definitely can get warm. All right, that looks good. I'll be able to forge that pretty good. Oh my goodness, it's so hot that it's actually bending on its under its own weight. The other thing about using gloves is it's harder to get a good grip on something, so the hammer wants to slip. Let's roll this over and see what I wasn't able to get because of differences in height. There we go. A little bit of rib area. That good. Good and hot. Let's see if we can get the same kind of heat just above it. That. Come on. Give that a little whack. Some basic straightening along here, since it wanted to get out of whack as I was pulling it out just from its heat. All right, and I avoided hitting any of the really hot spots this time. With my hands, that is. All right. No, gotta flip it over. Let's see if I can get the coals around that. Huddle them up, pull them back, dial it down the tweer a little more again. There we go. Pull it over the top. Get that air moving. too much air back there. Let's pull it down again to 2. There we go. Let's see if I got it hot enough. No, not quite. Almost. I think I'm going to have to throw a bit more charcoal on top to be able to get there, though. Let's go for smaller bits this time, though. Okay. Yeah, so for everybody out there, that means next week, Saturday, if I do a live stream, it won't be in the Smithy. I may end up just being available for Q&A. Or I just may do a walkabout to show you a little bit of where I'm at. We'll see. Or if I happen to be able to get together with some smithing friends, maybe I'll pop into their forge and do a bit of a live stream. Yep. That got warm. No surprise though. All right. Now to see about getting that spot hot, which will definitely make the area warm. Let's see if I can do this successfully. And that spot there. I don't think this should, oh, again, I put it in the wrong way. Bring her out, flip it over. That spot there. All right, pull these coals over. And I've shortened the tweer again because I'm focusing my work in one area and trying to use the smallest amount of charcoal possible again. You can actually still see, let me bring this in and see if you can see it. You can still see some red on the metal back in the back there. I'm sure it looks brighter to you than it does me, but even I can see it on the back side of the charcoal. And of course I had accidentally bumped the camera last time, so here we go. Let's get it warmed up. Only got a couple minutes left with you guys. There's the nope, not hot enough. My session's going to run a little long this time, simply because I want to get this one spot done. That's all right. I don't think any of you mind. If you had to wander off, I understand. There we go. I can forge that, assuming I can get it out of the forge. There we are. Well, that's going to be it for today. Made some good progress. Got a few ribs right in here that got missed. I'll get them next time. You can see them along here, which means then I get that done. It'll be time for another courtesy bend back this way, and it'll be time to straighten this one on this side. Making progress. It's the journey, people. We're going to go ahead and spread these coals out, let them burn out. Seems a waste to have such pretty coals not doing anything, but fact is, they did their job. I hope you're able to enjoy some time here next to my fire, the light and warmth that it offers, and know that you're loved.